Good morning. Welcome to the world of conscious positive thinking with MJ, where your thoughts become your power and your mindset becomes your compass. MJ is here to guide you through a journey of self-awareness, emotional mastery, and empowered living.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Want to make
reach out and touch your musical sound, no matter you're young or old, God, let the good time roll. But still you say, right on. Can't wait any longer. My love cannot linger. Hear the river whisper keenly. No matter if you're happy, say no matter if you're blue. My love, it a shine on for you. My heart, it a bubble up for you. My love, it a shining for you. It a shining for you. Hey you, hey you. It a shining for you. Say when love coulda never grow old. Love worth, Mount Diamond and Pearl. Till it is a world, but not top of the world.
Good morning, and welcome to the world of conscious positive thinking. You know, right here on mbradio.us. I am your host, MJ, and man, it has been a minute with this traveling. I know. So if any of you out there are like, what's happening to MJ? So I take what I call the Happy Hippie Trail 2026. And what is that, MJ? Basically what it is I just, every 3 to 5 days, I pick up with our trailer, my husband and I, and we just go to a different place. We try to hit things that are in his eyesight of photography or my eyesight as vortex or energy of earth, and we get to explore that area, and then we pick up and go. I like really cold weather, but it has followed us since the time that we've left Pennsylvania, and it's like bar, and it got down into the 30s here in Miami. I'm back here. Yes, I'm back here until March the 3rd. And now I have a stable Wi-Fi that I can go ahead and I can talk to you a little bit about what was happening. So yeah, I was out in Jamestown the last time in North Carolina. I was explaining, you know, that was our first stop. From there, we went to Greenville because we wanted to see the Reedy Falls. And the Reedy Falls, right in the middle of the city, has its own history with the Goma Indians. And then from there, we ended up in Edisto, South Carolina. And that was beautiful. I saw the angel oak tree. If you've never been to Charleston on the outskirts there to see the angel oak tree, do it. You need to do it. And then you need to go down into their beaches. They have some of the most phenomenal seashells. It's incredible. It is just a wonderland of shells. So if you know who I am, shells are incorporated for longing of happiness. So you find a shell, you dub it in somebody's name who has crossed, and you take your nail and you go down every single line, because it's those embedded, those deep embedded graves that are in those fossils that remain for eternity. Look at fossil pits. Look at some of the most ancient fossils. They're billions of years old. And yet that's what you're going to do. So I like to go and I like to pick up certain things at the shore. So every place that we went, from the time we left until we hit Florida, even Florida is kind of shaky because I can't even do it at my camper, because all of these beautiful campgrounds or these RV resorts are all under trees. And it's beautiful. It is. It's shady. It gives you, a woodsy feeling. But man alive, When you look up, all you see is like the oaks with Spanish moss, and it's a beautiful. It almost feels like do you ever see the Little Mermaid when you want to kiss the girl and you go into the Spanish moss, beautiful little oak. Well, that's what it was. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it's absolutely phenomenal. However, it's not so phenomenal to do my show. So in the middle of Timbuktu, and the sad part is we spent the money. I mean, we spent the money to say, no, I'm still going to do the show, and it's all going to be okay. And it's going to be one of those things where I have the Starlink, it goes anywhere, and we've already tested it. Well, we never tested it under trees. Oopsie. So you live and you learn every day. And if you get it wrong, it's okay. And if you hurt somebody, well, I'm sorry. I didn't see it this way. And you move on, right? So here we are moving on. Today is February the 2nd. It is a 3. So let's get that out of the way. So we're going to start off our day with angel numbers. So our angel number today is the number 3. The number 3 represents the law of the triangle. It is also considered the most sacred and holy of all numbers. The angels want you to know how highly evolved guide, such as an ascending master or a saint, is supporting you and guiding you on your path at this time and point. Your angel power word today is compassion. Oh my gosh, is that funny? Compassion. That is my word of the year, compassion. I have to learn compassion. And so every time that I get into these learning centers, this is the word of the day. It used to be awareness, but now my awareness has gone into this compassion. And now the 20. So everybody today, your word is compassion. Today is also has the number 20 in it. The angels have been steady influencing around you recently. As a result, you are about to feel a renewed sense of purpose in your life. The angels will be encouraging you to take action on the project that sparks your attention, or maybe to work for a cause that you feel passionate about. By devoting your energy to the product or the cause, you will reward with great inner peace. The next number in our line today is 26. 26 is part and parcel of our year. The angels know that you feel empowered when you feel compassion for others. They now ask that you feel the same compassion for yourself and honor yourself. It is very important that you say no to requests that make you feel uneasy. Trust these sensations in your body, as these are your inner compass. Your angel number also contains the number 22. The number 22 is a master number. So the angels ask that you have faith in your divine plan and their ability to assist you along your journey. All will be well if you trust your angels and draw on your deep faith and inner strength. The angels are working behind the scenes to ensure that your hopes, your dreams are manifest into the perfect form at the perfect divine angel time. All is well. All right, that is our today. That's what we're working with. So that is your angel number of the day, and it is brought to you by Angel Number. So here's the other thing that's happening today, and I'm from the great state of Pennsylvania. It is Groundhog Day. I know a lot of you people are like, MJ, what is Groundhog Day? Well, guess what? Groundhog Day is a very popular tradition. I'm going to read it. It was observed mainly in the United States and in Canada every year on February 2nd. It's based on an old European weather predicting folklore that was brought to North America by German immigrants. The groundhog, or a type of rodent also called a woodchuck, is brought out of its burrow early in the morning. According to tradition, the groundhog sees its shadow, usually because it's sunny, and it gets scared and it goes right back in its burrow. Which folklore then says, and it means winter will last another 6 months because he saw a shadow. If he does not see his shadow, because it's cloudy, it is said to mean an early spring is coming. It is best known as Paxatani, this event by Paxatani Phil, which is the name dubbed to the first ever groundhog when they started this. And it is a huge, huge, huge event in Paxatani, Philadelphia. And that is the most famous groundhog, Paxitani Phil, or woodchuck, whatever you want to call him. And he makes his prediction every year at this ceremony. Groundhog Day has become a cultural event and fun tradition in Paxitani, and it was further popularized by the 1993 movie Groundhog Day, which the character relives the same day over and over and over again. I can't remember. I think it was Bill Murray who played in that. I'm not sure. I'm not a TV buff, but I do remember the movie because obviously being from Pennsylvania, we want to watch those kind of things. So what's happening today? On today, February 26, 2026, or February 2nd, 2026, Paxitani Phil came out of his burrow at Gobbler's Knob in Paxitani, and he saw his shadow. According to the tradition, that means he predicted about 6 more weeks of winter this year. And those of you in Miami who had 30s and 40s, you're like, shoot the groundhog. And I hear you loud and clear. And I hear all those people who have just been inundated with 7 to 11 inches of snow, and they generally have none, or up by mine. I mean, we've already had now almost 20 inches of snow up there. So there's a lot of snow this year. So be cautious of where that snow has to go, because it has to melt at some point. So those who live in this, you're like, well, there's no big difference, right? Exactly. So nobody died yet. Well, there has been people, God love them, because of the freeze. So I can't even say no, you die. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so millions of people do go to Groundhog Day. They even watch it on TV. Forecast is lighthearted bit of weather folklore. However, scientists note that Phil's predictions aren't scientifically reliable. So even though the groundhog says, guess what, people, you got 6 more weeks of hell. Whoever, right? It's fun. It's fun to see. So just being aware that it is Groundhog Day today. So happy Groundhog Day, everybody. And Paxitani Phil said, suffer. You got 6 more weeks of beautiful, beautiful cold weather. Beautiful snow. Okay. I know I don't have really good light. I'm really sorry. I have to figure it out. Road traveling, sometimes things are missed. But maybe it's purpose. Maybe it is purpose. Maybe it's like that because it's laying the tone. It's laying the theme. It's laying what we need, right? So even though I truly feel so comfortable in my own skin, I haven't been able to get good signal. So there's no TV. There's no really phones. And I liked it that way. I get to Miami here, and I did. I get here, and it is mass energy. The energy is intrusive. I haven't been in big cities since I left in 2024. I don't like big cities. I find there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of ugly energy that lies within because people can't heal. People can't heal enough to stop this thing from saying ugliness. I don't know. Maybe you know some people like that. I don't know. But for me, when I overhear ugliness, I have to make decisions of my life. Sometimes people aren't aware that what they say, it was heard. And when that happens, I can either A, take the high road and know that those people aren't healed. And whatever they did say, they would never say to my face because of how pretentious and ugly they may have said it. That's the type of energy that I'm talking about. It's not about having a disagreement. It's about how ugly and explosive you become after, how you talk about that person behind their back. Sometimes with beautiful technology, you get to hear it. And then you have a choice. You can either find yourself saying, do I question them on it? Or do I let them go? Or do I just understand that their mind center of consciousness isn't there? They didn't do the work. I've been working on consciousness for 28 years. The hardest part of consciousness is finding what is truth and what is ego. It's not stereotyping somebody. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of stereotyping going on. And when you start stereotyping as, oh, they're MAGA, or there's something else, you know, oh, they're a Democrat. Now you start having headaches. Now you start having pressures. Now you start casting judgment. Now you start. And then what I really love is then they're going to tell you that they are part of a religion organization. Most of the time, they're going to tell you they're Christian, but yet they're going to judge you from here to Timbuktu, and they're also going to talk shit behind your back. And then they want to know why their life isn't all together. Judgment. That's why I'm here today. I don't know. I thought it was going to be another Divine wasn't going to let me do this because I had an awful time trying to get in my studio this morning. I was trying to get in the studio since like 8:20, and it wouldn't, and it failed, and it failed, and it failed to the point I kept resetting. So how about instead of, we're going to get to judgments, egos, and demeanors and stuff like that here in the show. But what I really want, I want you all to listen. I want you all to consciously listen and pay attention to the little hints that divine energy gives us, our higher selves, our akashics, our beautiful higher selves who probably have already learned in this passion. But we tend to use our mouths more than we use our heart. I was going to say head. Now I'm not going to say head because that's the problem. We have been taught to use our egos and judgments. And we have been taught and installed a brainwashing. We talked about this. The very first brainwashing you have as a man here on the face of this earth is your parents and your ancestral line. That's your very first line of conditioned mechanisms in your pattern to believe what you believe is your truth. Doesn't matter if you've been taught wrong. It doesn't matter if you were told wrong. It doesn't matter if you were brought up in a questionable energy. And what is right and what is wrong, I'm not here to judge you. Archangel Gabriel and God will do that. However, morally, consciousness, if you have moral consciousness and you have divine consciousness, then you understand that sometimes in life, when shit goes wrong, you asked for it. You asked in this lifetime to be put in this event or this situation to figure out how to heal or how to deal or how to move forward. If you are a person that is listening to this radio station, you probably either back the United States military, or you back the United States country, or you have backed something of in God we trust. Something, because that's what I stand for. I stand for in God first and foremost, besides anything else. I also took an oath to defend my country domestically and internationally. And then number 3, I took an oath to serve man. These are what I took an oath on. And I know every single military person out there took that same oath. And I always hear, well, what if I don't believe in blah, blah, blah? If you don't believe in it, figure out why you're in that imbalance. But when you start ridiculing people that you didn't think they're hearing you, it's time to make decisions. It's time to make big decisions. Especially when they don't even have the audacity to go back and say, you know, I may have said something. You may? It's on you. That's on you. It is also on us to try to allow people to understand where they can find truth. Because we are blind by conditioned man resonance and conditioned man's repulsive. It's a brainwashing. Just like the military, when you get debriefed, it's a brainwashing. So the people that we grew up with either instability poverties, no foods, maybe not socially classed. These are all part and parcels of things in life that we either look at them as insignificant, materialistic. When somebody of wealth is arrogant enough to have to constantly talk about wealth or talk about this or talk about that, and how now you ask them, and I'm like, I'm so happy for you. Are you happy that you have these materialistic things now? Because what does that do for you? Some of the most wealthiest people I know are like nuns or poverty. They're the happiest people I know because they look around and they see nothing besides beauty. They see nothing besides the earth. They don't need to play in the playground of anxieties and fears and ridicule and disgusting words. They don't have to live that at all. So maybe if you didn't have the money, you don't have the materials, maybe that's the blessing. And it's right in front of your eyes and you can't even see it. Because the more money you have, the more problems you got. The more taxes you're going to pay. The more people are going to try to come after you to borrow it for help. What, you need help? Right. And then they start coming and they don't stop. Even when you retire, they don't stop. It's always wanting something. Again, forces it back to judgment, ego. What did you learn? How did you learn it? Judgment and ego is not always a bad thing. We need it, which is why our amygdala and our brain uses it for cognitive theory and processing. We have to have it. It's how it's used and how we use it against us. And people are like, when I talk about things, sometimes they don't necessarily understand. So I want to break it down really easy, what it is. So then we can go back into the chapter of people being mean or talking shit. Maybe the mic was left on. I don't know. Maybe it was purpose. Maybe it was God purpose. Whatever it is, you can rest assured, and I promise you this, you can rest assured if you have your boundaries and you do things according to divine pathing and positive consciousness, your soul will always be set free. You speak of truth, you back it up with truth. And whatever those other people want to consciously believe because they're conditioned to believe it, or they're hearing it niched in their head by that source, that's on them. And now we sever those ties. Bye-bye. Yeah. With that, I'm going to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you exactly what is judgment in case somebody hasn't actually looked up the definition. And then what is ego in case somebody hasn't looked up that definition, and how they intertwine and why they are so important to heal and why they are so important to be positive consciousness, especially in this time and in this day where innocence of killing is just out of control, right? But are they innocent? Nothing happens as an accident on the face of this earth. You wrote it. And if I wrote it, that means you wrote it. That means everybody writes it. We all write our path. And we are all catalysts for somebody. And when we are a catalyst for somebody, something's going to happen for it to be memorable. Whether it's significant to make TV or significant to be a memory. It's going to happen to teach us. Folks, I got to take, we're not doing songs. Just because Spotify has, they're having a hard on. I'm just going to say it. So Jewel has made some of these MBR beaker commercials. So we're going to play a few of those. They're motivational is what he calls them. And we'll be right back. You're listening to mbradio.us. My name is MJ. My show here is The World of Conscious Positive Thinking.
Even ducks know the calmest waters come after the storm.
Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass. Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
You've got this. Even if today feels tough, your best chapter is just around the pond.
Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass. Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Dream big.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Okay, we're back. Here we go. We talked about things leading up, why I'm doing this show, how it's happening here. So, judgment. The name judgment in itself. Judgment is the act of forming an opinion or a conclusion about someone or something. That's the clean dictionary version of the word judgment. Human version gets a little bit messier. It really does. Judgment happens when our mind either A, takes information or an assumption, or it runs it through belief systems, experiences, emotions, and conditions, and it lands on a label, a verdict, or something of meaning that you just announced it to be. It can show up as this is a good or this is bad. It can show up as they're right or they're wrong. It shows up like I like or I dislike. And it can show up as I am enough, I am not enough. So these are, if these words, and listen to those words, and they're coming out, it means that your egos and your judgments are working. More judgment right now, because that's what your judgments are actually being filtered. And they're being filtered by your human conditioned patterns, by your parents, then by your nursery babysitter nannies while your people worked, then by the area of your schooling, whatever that is, your kindergarten through, your teachers teaching you. And this is where the teachers are getting themselves in trouble with, teaching things that are not in the American scholastics that were there for 250 years. No, since 2000 and I want to say 8, somewhere in there, or 6, I can't remember, but somewhere in there, scholastics changed. Ask me, I have a whole family full of school teachers. That changed. Books were being suppressed. Things were taken out of libraries. They had to teach things like DEI. They had to teach different courses that have nothing to do with our Constitution, has nothing to do with the United States of America. They had to do with more personal attributes. Then we have to keep going. There's more that make your judgment who you are. Your upbringing is the biggest. And the locality that you were raised in, the state in which you were raised in, these are huge because they are so freaking drained, embedded in your head that now you have other people who are like, you want to blame us, but you were the parent. Did you see those things out there? You're like, oh my God, how old are you? You're 28 and you're still blaming your damn parents? You're 30 and you're blaming you're 40 and you're 50 and you're blaming your parents? It's not a blame game. It's an awareness game. And yeah, if you have a parent and you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, and it's still an unconditioned pattern of unevolvement, because you have to imagine we all evolve, right? The earth evolves. Then it's time to say, I understand. I understand what you're saying. And I understand the time that you were born. And I understand the generation that you were born. But in today's generation, this is what's happening. Now, why is it happening? the involvement of generations, the involvement of people, the involvement of technology, the involvement of AI, AI is killing people. AI is killing people because there's some people who don't even understand what AI is, and they're thinking it's the truth, and they're posting it as the truth. One of the best ones, I saw somebody they were watching a football game as if it was a real life football game. And it's a stupid video game. And they're like, why is the TV looking like that? Now they saw something that but they couldn't fathom that the game was being produced through a system. Some people think AI is great. Some people think that it's the best thing in the world. And if you use it with conscious positive, it is. But there's people out there who are not using it as positive conscious. They're using it with sarcasm. They're using it to hurt. They're using it to subliminally throw messages. They're using it to trap you. They're using it to confuse you. They're using it in every other which way than positive consciousness. Best thing I did was not being able to be on TV or not have Wi-Fi. Came back into my center, came back into who I am, and I blocked it. Because everybody has an opinion. And I just love it in today's world that everybody is a political science major, but yet nobody wants to read the real truth. How many times can you give websites of truth and they don't want to take the time? They just want to shout out their mouth and they want to just be nasty. Or they want to hate for no reason. I love that one. I don't like. Everything is, the administration's fault. Everything was Biden's fault. Everything is Trump's fault. Everything is Clinton's fault. Nobody wants to take their own actions into consideration. Nobody wants to take their own freaking mouth that they want to shout out. They just don't. Why? Because everybody wants to be right. Nobody wants to take accountability. And it's not accountability for monies. It's accountability for the way you act and for the way you process and for the way you move forward. So judgment is that. Judgment has two main types. First type is discernment. You always hear me say, I'm discerned. It's another way of saying, I don't want to cast judgment, but I am, this is more of like a healthy, questionable judgment, if you will, because it is one of the two main types of judgment is discernment. This is a grounding, practical, and protective way. It's choosing what's safe. You're actually setting boundaries with discernment. You're making decisions based on facts and intuition of all known. You're also has an example of that is the situation doesn't feel aligned for me. That's discernment. This is not feeling aligned anymore. So now you must make a decision. You must make a move. There's some people who know it's not aligning and they sit in it. Why are you sitting in something that you know is no longer allowing? It's not aligned. It's not allowing. That's the first one, discernment. It's a healthy type of judgment. And then you have the condemnation, which is 90% of everybody who wants to just throw their opinions, they're not education. They have no education, but yet they want to throw opinions on what's right is what's wrong with no education, with no background, with no further study, with no looking into the libraries. There must be over 15 libraries of every facet and judicial position of the United States. And I love it. Oh, they lie. You can't lie on these things. It's right out of the courts. It's stenography. So please, condemnation, number 2 in judgment. And this is a reactive judgment. This is the fear base that often is unconscious. Everybody repeat it. Condemnation. It's the fear base and often the unconscious. It's shaming. It's moral superiority. It's projection. It's self-attacking. The example, they're terrible. He's a joke. I don't like him. It's his fault. I'm a failure. They're a failure. These are all condemnations, reactives of judgment. If this is what's coming out of your mouth, you're the problem. It's that easy. And you can click off if you want off my page. But that's on a consciousness, and it's unhealthy, and it's unaware. You can always go back with discernment and saying, this just doesn't feel right. Are we sure? That's discernment. You see the difference? Discernment is, are we sure about this? That's not being mean. That's asking you, did you do your homework in a nice way? Condemnation is talking shit when somebody thinks that the mic's off. Or telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm probably the only one reading all those libraries. I'm not the only one. I'm going to tell you, interpretation is hell. Interpretation is your news media. Your interpretation is paid to go either left, right. It is the way it is. We all know this. It's all been proven. Look at the sites. You can see them. It's all proven. You can see the lawsuit cases. They're all online. You can go in, but you don't want to do your homework. So here you are. You actually have questions and answers without. But when you get into condemnation, it's an awful thing. Spiritually thinking of judgment, because I had to move from religion to spirituality, now into consciousness. Spirituality speaking, judgment is separation. You're a divisional. You're a divider when you casting your judgment. It creates a subject versus object, me versus you, right versus wrong. It's a dynamic. It's a dynamic that this world is full of right now. I'm right, you're wrong. You won't even listen. I get that all the time. MJ, you won't listen. I'm listening to you. I just said I understand what you're saying, but I also understand what the law says. I also understand what happened in court. I also understand what I saw. I also understand what I see as facts. I also understand because I would tell you if it's wrong, if it's right, if it's this. According to the law, I have to look up the law. I have to do these things. You know, a couple of shows I'm on, I'm getting to a point I might have to just step out because I don't like people who don't want to do the homework. They want to use resources that are like Associated Press. And people going, oh, you use ChatGPT. No, ChatGPT is a biased foundation. We talked about this back in episode 40. Be careful with ChatGPT. And I implore every single one of you, and I know you won't, because if it follows the algorithms that you write on Facebook, it follows the algorithms that you write in your own personal pages, it follows the algorithms if you have a podcast. ChatGPT follows the algorithms. And so if you are far right, it's going to tell you far right. It's going to give you everything to give you the pheromones of being happy, strong, courage. Remember those 3 pheromones of the military were courage, pride, and anger? Well, news media triggers the algorithms and all social media to hit your like spots. People say Big Daddy's listening. Big Daddy's listening, but they're also reading what you're putting out there. Right? You do a, let's just say you forward something, like you repost something that somebody else did, that goes into your algorithms. So seeing damnation, seeing ugliness is because that's where you're targeting. Stop targeting that and you won't see it. And then be aware. You must be aware of interpretation, right? And this is where spirituality then breaks down. Judgment is separation. It creates a subject versus object. Non-judgment doesn't necessarily mean passivity or tolerance of harm. It doesn't mean that. It means I understand somebody was shot. I didn't say it was right or wrong, but I understand you came into this world to be a catalyst. You can't, where was your part in? What was your part? It's like a divorce. What was your part? Well, they cheated on me. What was your part? Well, they cheated on. What was your part? Do you understand? You must find your part in every event, good or bad. When you don't find your part of good or bad, then you're going to keep being in that same continuous loop that keeps wrapping and wrapping and wrapping on you. And then you'll hear the words, oh my God, this again? Why does it always happen to me? It's one thing after the other. And it's always the same event. It's always the same energy. It's always the same, right? What happens to it? How come we haven't learned this? Where can we learn this? Right. So, spiritual speaking of judgment, it just means seeing clearly without collapsing into ego stories. Where's the ego story? Where is their interpretation taking them? You might hear somebody who every time they talk, it's always negative. Yeah, I went down the store, I ran out of gas. Went to the store, I was looking for mustard, I didn't even have it. Instead of saying, well, I had to go to 3 different stores because I was looking for mustard. Do you understand the difference, how beautiful that is, more than, I went to the store, I didn't have it. Okay. Or I can just say, I tried 3 different stores. That's a special mustard. Maybe we can try something else. Isn't that nicer than having a negative day? But it's your words. And it's how your ancestry grew up with those words. It's the state that you were brought into, the county, the localities. That environment feeds on who you are. Right, wrong, and different. And you will fight to your bloody freaking self is a bloody mess that you are right. Instead of trying to align, understand, and balance that judgment. I don't know what to tell you. But there's a lot of people right now who, if you ask, they absolutely are the truth. Yeah. And they're absolutely the truth without doing their homework. They use ChatGPT. And if you look at ChatGPT sources, the minute I know that I get a biased resource, I'm like, stop, go back. I want this library. Go back and search this library and tell me what this library has to say. Because I get all the sides in the libraries. ChatGPT or AIs, whoever is feeding that and whatever intellect that you are demographically in with your phone and how you write, that's what you're going to get. I hate to tell you that, people, but that's how it is. So when you get ask about a ChatGPT or a Google AI or any of those AIs, do yourself a favor. Next time, ask it a question, especially if it's political bound, and put, now can I have the non-biased and non-partisan view? And watch what it says. You'd be surprised. Just saying. Anyhow, let's keep moving. Here we go. Back into the spirituality about judgment. Non-judgment doesn't mean that you're passive or that or your tolerance or of any type of harm. So it's just seeing that without collapsing into those egos. So many spiritual traditions teach judgment arises from fear. And it's true. If you have a judgment, most of the time that judgment is about fear. Compassion arises from understanding. If you can understand, look at your radios. Pretend it's a clock. It's 360 radios. These are all positive, 1 through 180. From 181 to 360 are all negatives. So here's your positive radios and here's your negative radios. You have to figure out these radios. If you don't know any of the positive radios, all the radios and paths are going to take us to here until somebody points it out. Don't look at somebody pointing it out as a negative. Look at it as an awareness of, well, I never thought about that. Wow, that's on this side. Huh. I never thought about that. But then you can see somebody's light bulb coming on. That's spirituality. That's twisting and flipping the the energies, because for every one mud, dirty, negative energy, there is a plethora of positives that you can work on. It always is. Awareness dissolves judgment. Always has, always will. And it's the awareness that brought me from my religion standpoint to my spirituality, and from my spirituality, even more awareness into compassion, now into consciousness. So the twist that most people miss here is we judge others exactly where we judge ourselves. If we have a flaw within us, we judge the others because we don't see that mirror reflection. I love it when I see, here we go. I'm going to talk about my daughter. So one of my journeys were to see my grandbabies. Love them dearly. As I sit here bridging into the 60s, I'm watching my daughter, and I'm watching her daughter, and I'm watching the shenanigans of this little 7-year-old and versus my daughter at 7 years old. And she looks so similar to her when she was young. And I'm sitting there and I'm laughing, but you can see the distortion on my daughter's face. And I still have to laugh. And I'm like, I go, that apple didn't fall far from that tree. And she just looks at me like, what are you talking about? I said, she acts a lot like you acted. And I said, there is so much similarity that you can see. Is that an ancestral trait? I believe, because you're conditioned from the time you were born until you're about 5. They say 7 now, but between 5 and 7, everything that you learned in that time is basically who you are. And it's deep. It is deep in your soul, which is why you go through cord cutting or you go through ancestral line removing, because this are the factors that have to break in order to have a new generation, to have a new evolvement. But when you get angry, then that's that generational stick. So that's where that comes from. When self-judgment softens, external judgment follows naturally. If you, I can show you how to release judgment without losing boundaries. But let's do that, because that's the hardest part, is releasing the judgment that you want to cast onto somebody without losing your boundaries of, I'm still going to stay intact. I'm still going to reign, but I need to release my discernment. And for me, it's discernment. For me, I don't go into competitive judgments. I don't. I stay within discernments. So, because most people think releasing judgment means becoming a doormat or docile or not fighting back. It doesn't. Please. Just because I don't want to have a disagreement, it doesn't mean that I'm weak. Oh, trust me, it doesn't mean I'm weak, right? It just means I don't need to have this discussion. This discussion is irrelevant in life. It may be relevant to you. However, being angry with me because I don't see your way, so that I don't see your point of view, is irrelevant. You don't need to get angry because I don't want to see your point of view, or you haven't proven with documentation, you haven't proven without speculation. What you've proven is stuff that you're seeing on the internet, stuff that you're seeing on the news. That is pure judgment. It is pure interpretational judgment. You're not flipping positive, you're flipping negatives. Right. Because people want to see the awful headline, because that is a call of action. Different industries play you as a fool, a big fool. And if you're listening to it, you're a bigger fool, because it's an interpretation. They get information and they're going to, every single person does this. Every single person on this face of this earth is the same. They're not any different. The only difference between your news media streams and your people who want to produce the news is they put their own personal interpretation in it. Bottom line. You can read the facts of a court and somebody can literally twist it around. It's a telephone game as a child. I always go back to it. The teacher says, please take your dog out for a walk. That going around to 15 kids comes back and it says, I changed the cat litter. What? You understand? There's a TV show like this, a game show. How people interpret what they hear because they're not listening or they're not comprehending what they're listening to. And that is the flaw of illiteracy. It's the flaw of education. It's the flaw. I'm sorry, but it is. And in the United States, especially in the southern of the United States, all the southern states with Spanish-speaking people, it is hugely a flaw of interpretation. 98% of the time. So be aware. And now how we have those boundaries, right? So release judgment, but keep strong and clean boundaries. Separate valuation from condemnation. Condemnation says you are bad, you're wrong, you're unworthy. Evaluation or discernment says this behavior doesn't work for me. Can we figure out how we can work together without this? See the difference? You're wrong. I'm not wrong. I believe the behavior doesn't work for me. The words don't work for me. So if things aren't working, we must do something about it. We can't keep pushing it off and repressing it. I won't. I'm ready to make due diligence right now. Because I don't, and here in Miami, time out. I don't care. I don't care what's going on X, Y, and Z. I care what's going on right here, right now. This is my purpose. Because if I die tomorrow, whatever's going on in Timbuktu is not going to make a hell bit of difference to me. Mind your business. Too many businesses in too one of an area, unfortunately, is going to cause chaos. Yes, I'm well aware that there are some situations that has to do with tax dollars and this and whatever. But that is between that event and that compromise. I've already said I was sorry and apologetic for all the wars that are happening overseas because that's egoic. If you don't think that you're a part of that from the sands of time, you're wrong. That is part of you over there in the sands. That's part and parcel, right? So, evaluation. You don't need a story about someone's character to set a boundary. You only need to notice the impact that it makes, okay? And you practice the shift. So, the words out of your mouth are, they're disrespectful. Yeah, no. Let's try to change these words. So it says, when this happens, I don't feel respected. Do you see how nicer that is? Instead of the slang ugliness of man constantly. Get it? The words you're going to use because you're trained to use them by your schooling, by your parents, by everybody else is, they're disrespectful. That's mean. It's intolerable and it causes division. When you can easily say, when this here happens, I really don't feel respected. See, doesn't that sound a little bit better? Isn't that nicer for evaluating the impact of your words? Yeah. No moral charge, just the truth. Once you take a moral charge on anything, now you're crippling yourself and you're crippling others around you because their ego and their judgment starts processing. How dare you tell me? And then it's the downfall. Once that happens, then you can see that person unhinged, that person unhealed, right? If somebody asks for a timeout to go back and you just ignore it and you just talk over them, that's on you. That's on you. If that other person in your life then walks away, it's on you. because you didn't know how to control yourself. You were not healed enough. Yep, you can say you're sorry. I tell my husband and I had a conversation about saying I'm sorry. And I said, when you say you're sorry, but you have to say sorry so much in your life, then you're not fixing it. You're not truly sorry. You're sorry that you just don't want to have this argument right now, or you don't want to have this conversation right now. So the word sorry has become ill relations. It just doesn't even make any difference anymore. Somebody dies. Oh, I'm so sorry. Why are you sorry that somebody died? You see how the word sorry, listen for that word, sorry. Sorry was supposed to be a passionate word that meant something. In today's world, as I hear so many people say, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I said I was sorry. But when you hurt somebody and you say you're sorry, that hurt may not be over with. They may not healed. Maybe you hurt so much that now they don't know how to heal. Now it's going to take time. And you're going to have to let them have the time if you truly are sorry. Right? But if you say you're sorry and you do it again, and you say you're sorry and you do it again, you're not sorry. You've actually missed and abused the word now sorry. Get it? So find more words. Pick up a thesaurus. Pick up a dictionary. Find new words, because it's getting to the point where you almost think this world is illiterate, or they just have no moral backing and no structure. They're lawless. You heard that in the news, I'm sure. Lawless, right? So that's a big one. That's big separation. Then we move to 2. Now we move from why they're wrong to what you need. Judgment focuses outward. Boundaries focus inward. Get it? My judgment is outward. My boundaries are inward to me. Ask, what am I available for? And what am I able to do? What am I not available for? What do I need to feel safe, to feel calm, to feel aligned? A boundary doesn't require agreement, understanding, or apology from another person, ever. I don't need somebody else's apologies or sorries when I put my boundaries up. My boundaries are mine. Why? Because I need to keep my mental, physical, and sociological aspects healthy. When they don't become healthy and you become around too many people who are not healthy, you have to put these boundaries up. You have to. Have to. I can hear my masters. MJ, have to. The other word that wants to come out of my mouth, I can't say either. You should. It's, what's the word they would tell me? It's to the benefit of you and your soul and your happiness that you put these boundaries up. How about that? That'll work. That'll work for everybody. That just works for everybody. So these are these boundaries. And it doesn't, again, a boundary doesn't require agreements, understanding, or apologies from any other person. Is who you are. Number 3, use neutral language. Even internally, use it. When you speak to your higher self or you speak within and you're speaking negative, that negative is universal negative energy to attract, to do negative to somebody else. Always and forever. The person is operating from their capacity, not mine. That dissolves judgment without exclusions of behavior, right? So this person is operating from their capacity, not mine. That is, I have to go throughout the day to remember that, because I've been told that I'm speaking so far outside of spirituality into consciousness that the people still in the religional box can't even comprehend, and their religions, how consciousness interferes. It is a disconnect. It's a vibrational disconnect of our electromagnetic frequencies that border within our mind's capacity. I know that's really hard for some people because it's Einstein dubbed it the spooky. It's the spooky relative theory because it is quantum entanglement at its highest level in our brain. that they have not quite figured out yet. So it's there. So that dissolves judgment without excusing behavior. Examples of this, okay? Examples of clean boundary language. I am not comfortable with this. I am not comfortable with that. That doesn't work for me. Can we try something else maybe, right? I'm going to step away from this at the moment. I'm not available for this dynamic at this time. You see how nicer that is than just telling somebody, F you, I'm out. I don't like how you do, I'm out. It's on you. You see how people get? It's you. And they start finger pointing. And it drives me crazy. And I'm like, you are pushing blame on who? You. You're angry on you. It's not anger. It is straight. This is the knowledge. I'm giving you the facts of why I'm putting up my boundaries. These are my truths. My truths. Okay. Notice how we say these things. I'm not comfortable with this at this time. Doesn't work for me. Is there something else plausible? I'm going to step away at this time. Thank you. Or I'm not really available at this time for this dynamic. I'm not quite sure I'm there. These are they're not attacked. They're not judgment. They're not justification. They're not defensive. They're just explanations of where your mental mind is at. And it is okay to do that. Okay? Somebody might jump back at you and you say, that's on you. Anytime somebody wants to disregard one of these actions that you are using in a spirituality consciousness, you ask them and you nicely look at them and saying, I understand, but this is on me. And I can step away at any time. I'm not hurting them. In fact, it would look like I'm hurting myself, but I'm actually protecting myself. I'm protecting myself from falsified words that I don't want to be involved with. Okay. It's kind of like judging. What's the old cliche? Stop judging the bread by its wrapper. Okay. That's a great statement, especially for the baby boomers who brought that out. But you are, because there's so many people unhealed, and then there's more problems. I'm not judging. I'm stepping away. So that's the difference between those two statements. Okay. I want to make that clear. Allow consequences without emotional charge. Judgment tries to push and punish. Boundaries simply redirect energy, like a pinball machine. Your flapper's on a pinball. I'm redirecting it. I'm redirecting you too. You keep pushing those pinball buttons to redirect the ball. So pretend that ball is that energy. If you're not liking the energy, boundaries simply redirect my energy. I'm still here, but I'm not going to focus that. I'm over here. You can limit that access time or intimacy without anger, right? You have to remove something in order for you to balance. Think about it. Here's another word to think. Access is earned by behavior, not intention. Access is earned by behavior, not intention. Calm consequences are very, very powerful. When you are calm within the chaos, like the patience of Job, right? Or Michael in the Bible, who just completely remains calm within the chaotic, horrific chaos that was going around him at the time. When you can remain calm, consequences then become powerful. Less engagement becomes very powerful. Changed rules becomes another very big powerful. Physical and emotional distance. There's no lectures. There's no proving. There's no inviting. There's no show and tell. There's no pointing to nothing. You just stay back. You be polite. Hello, please, thank you, goodbye. Then you leave. There's no reason. And you, with a smile. Always with a smile. You smile, you convince your judgment and your ego that everything is good in life. When you smile, you convince everything around that harmonious negative energy becomes divisive. So we smile, so it takes it away. And then you can control your own mind center with your ego, and your ego wants to fight your mind center, and it's going to say, that's not the face. And you're like, that is my face. and it's always going to have a smile. So we have to learn this. Number 5 is release judgment somatically. This is a key. This is really a part of the key. Judgment lives in our body, often in our jaws, in our chest, in our gut, and our joints. So if somatic exercising releases the anger, releases a lot of PTSD vets. When I was at the caves, we would have somatic teachers come in to help them release. Number 1, notice the judgment that's arising. Then we breathe into the pain body, the area holding the tension, and then slightly saying to ourselves, I release the story and I keep the boundaries. I release the stories, but I keep the boundaries. And then we exhale really slowly through the mouth. It works if you have suppressed or trapped judgments or relentless angers. It will always work. This trains our central nervous system that safety doesn't equal attack. Okay. It's not there. It doesn't equal that. So that's what somatic does. And then number 6, remembering the truth. Boundaries are not walls. They are instructions. So maybe the word boundaries is confusing. So when I say I'm putting up my boundaries, I'm actually putting down the instructions for me to understand that you can love, understand, forgive, and still say no. You can release judgment and still walk away. Non-judgment is an inner posture. Boundaries are an outer action. So we have to understand what's outer and what's inner. So they're not opposites. They're not opponents. They're partners. They work together. Releasing, understanding, putting up boundaries. These all work as partners in crime to what my belief system of conscious positive is. And conscious positive looks for the answers of truths. When you look for answers of truth and conscious positive, you're going to have a lot of pushback in life, extreme pushback in life. Because if you're not with the same like-minded people or the same frequency-ridden people, then that means somebody is higher and somebody is lower. And whoever is lower still has these learning life lessons. So where's the learning of compassion? That's my lifeline right now. Compassion. Where's my compassion for these souls that I've already dug myself out of? How do I help them? Because they're going to fight me. They're going to fight me tooth and nail. How do I help them understand positive consciousness of truth-related subjects? It's very difficult because there's so much peer pressure, so much social pressure, so much family pressure and division right now, that becomes a very difficult task. And I am well aware of it. You have to be brave and courageous to posture. This doesn't work for me right now at the moment. Thank you. I have to take a break. Get it? Okay. Non-judgment is an inner posture. Boundaries are an outer. They're not opposite. They're partners. So I want to take a quick break. And then we take a quick break. I'm going to focus then on ego. And now we're going to tie ego and judgment all together, because that was all judgment. Imagine that. Imagine now we get to ego, because our judgments gets fostered into our ego, and our ego is our first defense mechanism. Very first. And it could get us in a lot of trouble. But let's take a quick break. Let's get some more motivationals from Beaker, and then we'll be right back.
You've got this. Even if today feels tough, your best chapter is just around the pond.
Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Every setback is just a setup for a comeback. Keep quacking forward. 90% of what we worry about in future never happens. Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass. Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Dream big, start small, but most of all, start.
Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass. Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right. So we were talking about judgment and everything that involves around judgment, and how people right now are very divisional with judgment, how problems are being started with judgment because people are too lazy to do their homework because they think AI and ChatGPT and social media are all going to give you the answers that you need. So I have a beautiful person in my life. She says she watches all different stations for her news. So in the morning she watches one station, in the afternoon she watches another, and then at night she watches another. Different opinions, different judgments on national and federal and local news. How they interpret the same thing multiple different times. So I love that because she has become aware that maybe one side or the other has become a little personal, interpretational with their message, right? To try to influence or subliminally imprint on the line. Folks, you just have to give me 1 minute here. I got to fix my computer stand. Okay. Working remote's always fun. It's always fun, I tell you. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, let's go to egos. So ego is that part of the mind that creates sense of me. That's what it is. It's so misunderstood. And at its simplest, ego is a part of the mind that creates a sense of me. You, right? That's the name. Its identified structure will answer, who am I? How do I stay safe? Where do I belong? Am I valued? Okay. Ego isn't evil. It's a tool. It's not a flaw. It's truly a tool for us to be able to utilize. Ego, clearly and cleanly, and the physiologically, ego organizes experiences. It forms personality. It creates rules, stories, and self-concepts, and it helps navigate the world by name, history, preference. Without ego, you couldn't function in a daily life. So people are like, but ego's bad. Where does ego really become a problem, right? So we're not going to say ego's bad. Where does ego become a problem? Ego suffers when it thinks it is all that you are, right? Ego revolves around me. But when we suffer, it's because it is meant that it is all that we are. Then it starts to defend. Then it starts to compare, cast judgment, seek control, identifies with wounds and hurt. Then it needs to be right. And then fears being seen or losing status. So because the ego is here to protect me and it's about me, the ego then doesn't want to feel hurt, sad, depressed. So what does it do? It freaking slaps back, talk shit, talk this to make it go, I'm powerful. And there it is. Those who want to put other people down behind their back, or those who want to say shitty things in front of people when they don't really know or exercise the truth. And it's sad. Think about it. You have podcasters, you have DJs, you have news media, and they want their message out there. So they twist the truth or they twist the narrative to prove their point. That's ego. Get it? You hear that bickering a lot on Capitol Hill at the White House news briefings. You hear it all the time. You hear somebody ask, and then you hear the defense going, of course your news station would ask that type of question. Because they're taking the truth and they're twisting it. I can't express enough. Please. I can't express enough for people to use common sense and their own God gift ability. If you have a phone in your hand or a computer at your desk, stop putting in ChatGPT and AI. We know you do it because your words all of a sudden are beautiful. Your words don't match your personality. That is a beautiful thing because maybe they want to say it, but they don't know how because they don't have the literacy to do it. Or is it because everything that they say is pretty shitty and they haven't learned how to heal this? Ego. That's ego. Ego, in short, tries to protect the self-image at all costs. It doesn't matter. That is ego. And when you don't train your ego, God help us, because it protects the self-image no matter what the cost, including death. Right there it is. Spirituality speaking, ego is identification with form. Ego is the form through body, through thoughts, through emotions, through roles, and through past stories. In spirituality, we have what we call awareness. Awareness, or our soul, or our spirit of our higher selves, as in the witness of those things that we are watching, hearing, seeing, and or doing. Ego says, this is happening to me. The awareness says, wow, this is just happening. Not to me, just happening. Get it? We are all part of all that is. We are part of all that is. And when we start with ego and identification of the form that breaks down any type of those rules, those emotions, those thoughts, those bodies, those past stories, anything that breaks it down, your ego then says, you did it to me. No, that's your ego. The awareness says the energy is happening. Become aware of that energy. I tell in my classes, when you become aware and you become the strength in that pillar, then you smile with confidence and say, hello, I've been expecting you. We all know. We all know in our gut when we do something wrong, or there's a hiccup, or there's an imbalance. We know it. So instead of honoring that imbalance, what do? You talk to everybody about the person negatively, and then two or more people talking negatively brings the other person's resistance and resilience down. Instead of raising your brothers and sisters, you're removing it. Doesn't work, never has, never will. When awareness leads, ego relaxes. What ego isn't? Ego is not arrogant. Ego is not confidence. Ego is not discernment. Ego is not boundary. Ego is not individuality. A healed ego is quiet, it's flexible, and cooperative. And sometimes ego will assist in the mind's boundaries, but you have to tell it when to have the boundaries. Time out. That is a hold back. That is shutting down the egos. That is time out. Too far. We've already gone in the rabbit hole. I don't want to go in the rabbit hole with anybody. I don't. Been there way too long. Took me since I was 28 to get out of these rabbit holes. But I'm not. And here's the awareness. Here's the compassion. I'm not willing to be put in a futile position with others ever again, with negative thought process or damnation on anybody. I'm not doing it. We all are here to learn, and we have to have the compassion to teach them. But when they ignore the teachings, or they ignore any fundamentals of doing something right because it's easier to listen to some fabricated ugly ass nation, StreamYard, what streaming media, social. Now you are on your own. So your demise and your karma is on you because I don't want any part of it. And then that's, as a spiritualist, where I would step out. It's quiet. I'm quiet, flexible, and cooperative. I just step out. There's no need. Signs of ego is running the show. When your ego is running the show, you have a strong need to be always right. Feeling personally attacked by disagreement. I want to go back. This strong need to be right. Let me talk about this. People will say, MJ, you're not always right. I said, it's not a right or a wrong. It's fact. Here it is. Sorry, you don't want to do your homework, but here it is. This is the fact. This is what it says. This is what the law says. This is what happened in court. That is not ego. Trying to show somebody. So my words are, is it plausible that you didn't see this? Is it plausible you ignored this fact? Is it plausible that you don't want to see the fact because for one way or another, it's going to socially dampen you wherever your society is? Plausible. But when you want to ignore fact and still be harassable and talk crap, come on, what's happening? What's going on? Right? So, feeling personality attacked by disagreement, the strong need to be right. Don't exclude being right for the strong need to be right. They're two separate things. Facts are facts, right is right. Interpretation centers on them and on you. If your facts interpreted, somebody else interpret different, now there's a happy medium to say, how did you come up with that? There's nothing wrong with that. If you're asking a question such as, how did you come up with that type of path or that type of interpretation? And they're getting angry and they can't even explain it, on them, walk away. Just walk away. It's the easiest thing. You're not going to heal somebody who is that articulate. You're just not. Here's another one. Over-identifying with rules. Healer, victim, saver, rebel, right? Over-identifying with rules. Rules. These rules. There's always rules. Rules are law-abiding. If there's no rules, we have chaos. Here you go. You have Minnesota. There's no rules. It's a lawless ground. Somalia in itself does not have law. They're lawless. So most people who are governed by law, right? There is rules. In school, you have rules. The teachers have, everybody has rules to follow. Why? Because we already learned the lesson, which is why this rule came in parse and parcel. It creates a calming. It creates a peace. It doesn't create subversions. Okay. I'm not saying you can't protest on what you disagree with. I'm not saying that laws shouldn't be updated. I believe 250-year-old laws should be updated. However, there is a time and place for it, divine time. When you have total chaos and total infrastructure that I don't even know how people are not aware of how much crime is in their own United States. It's funny. United States, when I was doing hospitality and tourism and building businesses overseas, I would look at the U.S. Travel Advisory. Anybody ever looked at those? The U.S. Travel Advisory. Do you know what I find so damn funny? U.S. Travel Advisory, but they'll never give it to you for the United States in itself. San Francisco and Chicago and New York City has been the hottest torn criminal areas alive. They outbeat a lot of Costa Rica, Guatemala, all these other places I've been. But yet they're not on the U.S. Travel Advisory. Why? Why? I don't get it. I don't understand the egoicness of the United States. And no, before somebody out there says, oh, it's Trump's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's like people want to blame Trump for the killing that somebody else pulled a trigger. He didn't pull the trigger. Oh, but he sent him there. He didn't pull the trigger. He said, you need to deport these people. He didn't say anything else. So how you could blame? That's like blaming the spoon that made you fat. You're going to blame the spoon because you're fat? Or people who have gun laws. Here you go. You're right. The gun killed. It's the person who held the gun that killed it. It's not the gun. God, it is time to wake up with common sense. You're blaming people. I love this one. God takes me out. God pulls me out of things. I'm convinced. I'm convinced of it when it's not right. There was a discussion that was happening, and the person hates Trump because of some act. Hates him. Has nothing to do with it. The bill hasn't even crossed his damn desk. But yet you're going to hate somebody. That is total ignorance. That is such an ignorant philosophy. When you're blaming somebody, it has to go through Congress. It has to go through Senate. It has to go. You obviously have never watched Schoolhouse Rocks about I'm a bill. It has to go through. You can't blame him for that. This is where we're at in our society. This is egos. These are judgments. This is why the show. I'm on my happy peace trail. Thank God. I didn't have the TVs. I didn't have all this crap. Because you're fighting to fight. You're not fighting to have peace. The Buddhist monks, they're walking for peace. By walking, they're not protesting, they're not arguing, they're not burning down buildings, they're not holding guns. They're walking with meditative prayer that everybody forms a balance of peace. Now, somebody's ego goes, oh, you didn't do it in Biden, but they did it in Trump, so what do you think is happening? No, that's an unhealed mind again. Again. Because we could do this all damn day. The corruption is not part of who we are. If you don't rid our streets of corruption and crime and immorality, you are no better than a damn bill that you want passed. Enough about that. It is we're going back to the signs of ego. It's running the show. Over identifying rules, chronic judgment, and defensive masked as truth-telling. The key insight that most people miss with ego is you don't kill the ego. The ego kills you. You unhook from it. You can always unhook from ego. That's what you call using your heart space as your understanding center and not your brain. Ego is meant to serve awareness, not replace it. When you observe ego instead of obeying it, it softens naturally because you are not allowing it to run your life. One grounding practice, when triggered, what identity is feeling threatened right now? So a grounding practice, if you're triggered, ask yourself, what identity is feeling threatened right now? That question alone is going to move you of all ego and into awareness. Why do I feel threatened by this? Why do I feel angry? Why? Tap your thymus. Breathe, tap that thymus. Why? Where is it? What identity? Who is it? Now, if you want, we can even go even to more, and now we can connect ego to judgment, fear, and control. So now you can see how every single one of these now are going to align and play out. So let's connect the dots now clearly so you can understand why ego and judgment is a total flaw of why we are so divisional. It's flawed. I mean, we are so flawed with it that people are not healing it. And if they would just heal it, there would be a lot more calming within our words. There'd be a lot more calming within a dynamic of people getting together. So here we're going to connect these dots. We're going to connect them cleanly and honestly. This is one of those, once you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee maps. So here it is. You have the core loop, right? What is the core loop? The core loop is, here's ego, followed by fear, followed by judgment, then followed by control. This loop runs automatically unless awareness interrupts it. This is how the core loop of our brain works. Ego, it's the identity. It's literally the identity that wants you to survive. That's ego. Ego's job is to protect the soul, to protect the persona. It's built from past experiences, wounds, beliefs, rules. We talked about this, self-imaging, right? So ego asks one nonstop question: am I safe as I am? Right? And when the ego asks, am I safe as I am? When that answer feels like a no, look out. Anything else, everything and anything will then activate. And now you have all of that. You have your discernment, you have your shuts down, you have your determinations, you have everything that is going to explode in the pain body or the angry body. It's just the way it is. Number two, you have is fear. This is the alarm system. Fear is ego's fuel. If you have fear, guaranteed your ego is flying out kilter, right? It shows up fear of rejection, fear of being wrong, fear of loss, fear of not mattering, fear of chaos or uncertainty. These are all the fears that now your ego is now it's explosive. Right? Because most fear isn't about the physical danger. It's about the identity threat. And this is where, if we don't tap into our ego, PTSD vets, you need to tap into this. This is where the identity threat comes from, that fear. I can't say it enough. If we heal that ego and we heal the judgment to create the ego's form of you not feeling safe, we have cleaned up the mess. Right? And it could be a stackable fear. It might not be the event that you want to push the blame onto. It could be a very stackable fear from inner child, from past life, whatever. Right? Because remember, it's not about the physical danger that you're in, the sight of danger, the inside that danger. It's about the identity of that danger. So the example, a disagreement. I might be wrong. To the ego, that feels unsafe, and it immediately fires a spark when you say, I'm disagreeing. Now, by disagreeing, the ego's like, whoa, how dare you cross the path of this ego? That's kind of what it's like. How dare you cross this path? It's not quite what it's doing, but it is putting up the shield of protection for you because you verbally said it out of the consciousness of your mouth. Now you're saying something and the ego is to do its job. Remember the core loop, right? So now we're going back, and that core loop now tells us, hello, did somebody cross paths? Here's that spike. And then judgment. Here comes that judgment, that fear wearing armor. Here she comes, all in her armor. Judgment is now fear tries to regain ground. It now labels people, it categorizes people, it reduces complexity, and it creates right versus wrong. It creates a moral statement that may not be a moral consciousness that the other person is in. Why? Because judgment gives certainty. And if I am right, I am safe. If you are wrong, I don't have to feel uncertainty. Judgment temporarily soothes the fear, but at a cost. And what is that cost? Sometimes on a front line, it's life. Sure, shit is, especially ego. Ego wants to always protect you, right, wrong, indifferent. We always practice to have a good, faithful ego and to remove the callous ego that was created by man, by its experiences. Get it? Okay. So 4 of the ego, control the attempted solution. These are all the loops of our ego. Control is ego strategy to prevent fear from returning. It can look like micromanaging, spiritual superiority, moral rigidity, fixing others, withdrawing or shutting down, dominating conversations, or setting boundaries that are actually walls. They're not boundaries, they're walls. Okay? Control says, if I can manage outcomes, I won't have to feel fear. But control never actually works in a long-term period of time. It's very short, it's very abrupt. It's almost like think before you speak. Well, that's the ego, right? The ego will burn out something to immediately protect self. And you're like, and sometimes you'll hear me on this station go, I didn't say should, I didn't mean should. Cancel, clear, delete. That's a demand. Should's a demand. I'm not shoulding anybody. It's like shoulding all over somebody. No, you have your own free will. You have your own trust. You have your own thing. But for me, I have to look at it differently, constantly. And I pray you do too. Because once you learn to heal the ego and try to time out and place a boundary, not a wall, of just, I'm not doing this. Right? And not without muttering underneath your breath either. That's just wrong. So, but control, it doesn't. Your ego, it's very short term. It works quick, and it's either going to get you in a shitload of trouble or it's going to help you miraculously, depending on how you've healed those old wounds, or depending on how you've reached into the light of consciousness and to be positive with every word that you say. It's difficult. It's easier said than done, and I'm here to tell you that. How the cycle reinforces itself. Well, with control fails, fear resurfaces, judgment intensifies, and then ego hardens. Get it? It's a domino. This is why people become more rigid and angry over time. They double down instead of softening, or they confuse certainty with truth. Okay? This is how that cycle reinforces. The controlling part of our brain fails. Then fear comes because that control disappeared. So here comes the fear. Go, oh, how did that go away? And then it's becoming, so that one did it and that one did it. And now your judgment interferes. And then that judgment intensifies with anger because you wholeheartedly believe it's this person and you so want action. And then the ego hardens to be a very angry, hateful, unbearable person who speaks out against somebody else all the time. That's unhealed. And then you want to blame the person, and then you want to gather your own army. So now you start talking to all these people about this person so you can have your whole army, and now your ego's so happy until somebody points out what you did. And the only person who's going to hurt for that, and karma is going to be your bitch, is you. Because you listen to all the sheep. Here's the sheep. The sheep are all over you. These are all your sheep. And you got them. Ego. This is core fail ego. So where awareness breaks that loop, that core loop of ego, awareness steps in before judgment solidifies. It asks, what am I afraid of right now? What identity feels threatening? Can I tolerate uncertainty without acting? When fear is felt instead of managed, ego loses its grip. When fear is felt instead of managed, ego loosens its grip. The quiet truth, judgment is not a moral flaw. It's fear asking for safety. Control is not strength. It's fear trying to prevent pain. An ego is not an enemy. It's a young part that learned protection early in life. To reframe that dissolves everything, safety comes from presence, not control. The more that you stay present with discomfort, the less ego needs judgment. And the less fear demands control. So I don't know if that's when you notice judgment. Let me think. When you start, it's a interrupt, like it's a simple interrupt practice of ego or in judgment. So when you notice judgment, stop, pause, breathe fully into the body. If you have to take a double breath and keep pushing it without letting it go. And then ask, what am I trying to protect right now? What am I trying to protect? Who am I trying to protect? Soften the jaw and the shoulders, relax. And that's it. That moment is your awareness. It's your awareness center. And when you stop that energetic flow and you disrupt it and pause and breathe into the pain body, breathe into you and asking yourself, who am I trying? What am I trying? What's the protection here right now okay, then this all softens. Your jaws soften, your shoulders start softening. You start taking that breath going, I either don't want to be part of this conversation, or you and I really need time without other things going on to heal, to balance this. But at nowhere, shape, or form would you ever find that a healed conscious mind would talk crap behind somebody else's back. I may suggest healing. I may suggest help. I may suggest assistance. But I would never call somebody a jackass or deranged or an unwilling participant. It's not nice. It's not nice. And it needs to be healed. And it needs to be healed in a very beautiful, beautiful way. I know there's a lot of thises and that's out there. I also believe that sometimes in life we go through events, or we do events that now may not fulfill that need anymore. And when that happens, it's okay, because you can smile and you can thank yourself and say, wow, what did I just learn that I don't need this anymore? Was I aware of what I just learned? Did I perceive it the way the person wanted me to perceive it? Could I understand the way that they were wanting me to understand? Could I balance and align on both sides? Or did my fear rage more anger and discomfort? And did I start name calling? Or did I start demoralizing? What did I just do? These are your questions. These are for you to answer. These are for you to understand who you are, or why maybe some people don't want to associate. Maybe they just don't want to associate with you anymore because you're full of judgment. You're full of ego. And you're that angry. Ego and judgment, you're angry about something. And if you're not angry, then you are loathing something. You're not in a balanced, healed position. Because if that, then the questions would be different, right? When I see people on social, I don't hate, cancel, clear, delete. I just like looking at social media. I don't go to people's page. I go to people's pages. I don't go news feeds, because when I open my Facebook, there's always something. It always opens to a news feed, so you always see that one first, and you're like, "Oh, I don't look at it." You're gonna have to. You're gonna look at it because you're opening up, and you're like, "What is this?" And then you read it, and what's in your news feed most of the time, it's algorithms, sponsor ads because of algorithms of your phone that you are texting, using, saying, whatever. And then the next news feeds are those people who look at you, or sites So somebody who is watching you, looking you, following you, they're pretty much the first news feeds you're going to see, because they're picking up the algorithms that this person is watching you. So now you get to see all their things because those algorithms play in. IT is such a wonderful thing. Anyway, it's happening more and more and more. And if it's happening and you become discerned, figure it out. Don't let it go. Remove yourself if you have to for a little bit. See if it is, tried and tested. See if it's something that you learned. See if it's something that you've already healed. And your body is telling you, you don't need to be in this. You're healed. Get out of it. Move. Or if you're angry, then that's something that you need to heal. If you're angry, it's on you. It is so on you. If somebody says something that you don't like, first of all, you have allowed the energy to infiltrate your boundaries, your walls. And then second, look at it as you asked this person at this moment. You wrote it in your path of life to be here. Figure it out. Honor it. Step away from it. Balance it. Heal it. Love it. Let it go. Spirituality. Let that shit go. Heal it. Love it. Let it go. It's the only thing you can do at any given time, any given point. Because everybody has free will. Yes, the ICE officer shooting that guy, that was his free will. It wasn't Trump. He didn't tell him to go shoot people. It's the guy. Now, did his fear of the constant agitation lead to that? Human flaw of fear? Yeah. Getting spit at, getting chucked at. You're creating law. Law and order is not easy. Ask the Knight Templars. Ask the military members who go and shoot from their planes or their cannons or their boats or their, tanks. Well, when you're shooting them, you're shooting to kill. Thou shalt not kill. There's that bridge. Any way you hack it. Any way you hack it on both sides of the aisle. It's not the answer. It's not. I do. And I'm a firm believer of the Knight Templars. I'm a firm believer that God's archangels all have swords and shields to protect from those who are dark and who are negative and who want nothing but merciless, flawlessness. It's not the way. It's not the way, but there is law and order. But when you push people to their fear maximum that they can, because you're just an agitator and you're causing, you have no being. What is that? FAFO? On any circumstance. And then you look at the shenanigans that people do and they go, well, that one incident, they were doing nothing. It's never their part. There's your ego and judgment. It's never your part. It's always somebody else's part. And when you think of somebody else's part, that's on you. You did that. You're pushing blame. Stop pushing blame. Stop pushing it. Think about you. What did you do? What was your part? And sometimes your mouth gets you in trouble. And the only person to blame is you. Flat out. So honor it. Then you can have the proverbial, oh, I'm sorry. Are you? How many times have you done this? Ask yourself that if you get caught in it. You said you're sorry. How many times are the same thing that you're saying you're sorry about? Same shit, different day. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Anyhow, I think today is a good day to stop here. Think about all this. Follow the lines. Follow the circles. And I think you'll feel a lot better about yourself and about others around you. Don't let society pressures or somebody else's interpretation weigh upon you. It's not right. It's not fair. It's ego and it's judgment. We all have it, and we all need to learn to control it. If we use it for the positive sides and we use it for the conscious of positive sides, the world can be a lot better place than pushing blame and judgment and egos off to somebody else. You're here to be loved. You're here as one of God's children to enjoy the beauty of his earth. And that's what I intend to do. I have another 2 months of looking at God's beautiful creation. I will refuse to spend it on disgruntled, ugly, vile, and just unbelievable people who have no common sense, who don't understand how to read facts. And when you try to assist them, then they make fun of you, or they want to get angry. So that's why when you try to assist them with loving words or give them the information, they get angry. It's really on them, and they really need help. Find your help out there, please. Find it. Folks, I'm MJ. This is the world of conscious positive thinking. One step at a time. If I am better today than I was yesterday, then I am doing a great job, and you keep telling yourself that. Because we are all a process of work on ourselves. We have to. We have to keep working on ourselves, and we have to keep stopping ourselves when our beautiful mouth wants to get us in trouble. And remember, those words came out of your mouth, not the other person. So if you're mad because they heard what you said, it's on you. It's not on them. You can't blame them for hearing what you said and not wanting to speak to you. That is not a human ego. That is a human heart chakra center that you just killed in somebody else. Congratulations. Is that what you wanted to do? Hurt somebody? Because those words, even though you can say you're sorry, they'll never be pulled back. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm MJ here on mbradio.us. It's been my pleasure. And I'm going to continue my Happy Hippie channel. I hope and I pray. I don't hope. I have the will of God to know that my words will always come out, whether it be on StreamYard here, whether it be on Earth, Wind, and Fire, whether it be on World of Conscious, somewhere, my words will always get out because I'm service to others, and I always will be. I love you all. Enjoy your Groundhog Day and enjoy the cool weather. Find the beauty in the cool, resetting, recapturing, take the moment. When you're cold, you stand still for a moment. Maybe it's that standing still with the cold that it's making you to say, don't be angry with the cold. Start using it as, let me reset some things. Let me rethink some things. And then everybody will be happy. And then that's where we go with it. All right. Folks, I love you all. See you hopefully my Wi-Fi. Actually, here in Miami, I shouldn't have any issues. I'm here at my beautiful friend's house. So there shouldn't be any issues with me getting back on. Late is maybe an issue. I'll work on that next time. Other than that, I'll see you next Monday. Have faith, love dearly, love kindly, and love with all that you have, folks, because it's the only chance you get. You only get to live in this lifetime one time. That's just it. That's how it works. All right. Mwah. Stay good, stay healthy, stay care. Let the angels carry you with peace, love, joy, happiness, and abundance of what it is that you desire most.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25 and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up. Stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.